What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 League Racing, and we are back in the Streamers and Co VRL for round number 9 of Season 3, our final season here on F1 23 before the new F1 24 game comes out in a little over a month at this point. Very, very exciting. We've got one new person in the mix today. Nivi is their name, brand new. No idea what their pace is going to be like, but hopefully we'll be able to have a race where we are somewhat competitive or maybe even faster than them, because there are a number of quick drivers in here today. You know, we've been struggling in recent times to get all of the participants in the league to get into the same race due to various time constraints and things like that. Not everyone's been available at the time that we've been racing, but finally we have a race where pretty much everyone who participates in the league, bar 2 people I believe, have showed up to the race today. So it's very, very exciting, and hopefully we can have a good race as a result of that. But it will be a little bit harder to score points when lots and lots of people who are very pacey are going to be doing well. First flying lap didn't go so well for me. I accidentally forgot to turn off my my ERS on my out lap, which meant I had basically no ERS for my flying lap. So we were able to improve quite a lot, especially towards the end on my second flying lap. We went down from a 1:10.7 to a 1:10.2, and I definitely felt like there was still a lot of pace in there. You can see the kinds of people ahead of me at the moment, like ArCee, KK, people who I typically would consider myself to be slightly stronger than. And we actually, at the end of Q1, on lap 3, we found ourselves all the way down in the bottom position, P18. So I'm going to need a big lap here if I want to improve. Unfortunately, I've managed to get exactly what I wanted. Basically, we've got an almost 8/10 improvement here, which is really strong. This was one of the best laps I've driven around ZANDVOORT ever, I think. 109.4, and it was still only good enough to put me P13 here. So yeah, we're going to be starting from a little bit further down than I would have been hoping for, but yeah, it's not a bad qualifying by any stretch of the imagination, and I just hope that that we can work our way forward through the field to bag some points. We qualified ahead of Jermaine. That's something that's very important to me at the business end of this season. I want to be outperforming him week in, week out. It was, I believe it was Lewis that qualified P1 there, followed by Dustin and the 2 McLarens of Ryan and Bjarni, and then it stayed Body, Liam, Reg, Ryan H, Ollie Matthews, and Phil rounding out the top 10. And then had KK, Alex down in an uncharacteristically low P12, myself, Nivi, Jermaine, Thanos, Mike, and ArCee as the entire grid there. So we will see what kind of performance we can deliver as we make our way into the race now. Like I said, the target here has to be points, preferably a few. Those of you who've watched my career modes in years gone by will be probably acutely familiar at this point with the fact that ZANDVOORT is not one of my strongest tracks. Now, yes, in F1 22 I did actually get my first career mode victory in that save at ZANDVOORT, but that was more of a fluke than anything else, I would say. And yeah, we are now going to get ready to see if we can get a good start here. Hopefully make up a few positions on the opening lap. We'll see what we can do as the lights come on. And the lights go out. Christ, that was a long hold. I feel like I was talking and then not talking for about 10 seconds. But we've had a pretty good getaway, and we're already running level with Alex here. He's gone into the back of his teammate Phil there by the looks of things. Not sure if he had a long brake pedal or what happened there, but he just seemed to go directly into the back of Phil, and we've managed to make up a position as a result of that. Jermaine's made his way up into P13 as well, so he's had a very good start. Trying to go around the outside of KK now if we can, but unfortunately we just couldn't find the way through. Up into P12 off the start. Lots of people in front on the medium compound tyres. On the softs, we're going to want to clear those people nice and quickly if we can help it, because we're just going to get held up if not by all the medium compound runners. They are going to be you know, just a real thorn in my side. KK, you know, I want to be fair to the guy, but he's not the paciest driver I think in the league, and certainly I typically tend to outperform him in these races, so I don't want to get caught behind him for too long if I can avoid it, because I know that is just going to end in absolute disaster for me. But lap 1, I don't want to take any risks, especially after, in the middle of the week actually, I did a pre-season race for another league, which I'm testing the waters on whether I want to participate in or not, and I got caught up in a couple of incidents there due to me being quite aggressive and bold with my overtakes. So I'm trying to be a bit more reserved here to try and keep myself out of trouble. And as a result of that, I'm actually now coming under pressure from Jermaine here, who's trying to go up the inside of me, but he couldn't quite make the move stick on that occasion. He's on the soft compound tyres as well, so me and him should have fairly similar performance, you would imagine, over the course of a stint. We'll see what lap he's pitting on. I'm going to be pitting on lap number 10 and then going on to a set of mediums to the end of the race. And yeah, you can see making our way through lap 2 now. We're going to see if we can put some pressure on KK into the final straight here. 1/10 behind him at the moment. But I didn't want to burn too much battery because I wanted to hold on to some of it to the end of the race. And that ended up being my undoing here, because I think if I'd burned more battery there, I would have been able to overtake him. Obviously, there is a reality in which I do overtake him and then he just overtakes me on the very next lap. But yeah, it meant that I'm going to be stuck behind the Aston Martin driver for another lap here, because ZANDVOORT is one of those circuits where realistically there's only one, maybe two overtaking spots on the entire circuit. Unless you're really bold into a particular corner, you're only ever going to overtake into the first corner or at the end of the second DRS zone if you manage to get really close. We're coming under even more pressure here from Jermaine this time, and he pushes us out wide as he goes for a double overtake here on myself and KK. Makes his way up into P11, and as a result KK has to brake a little bit because Jermaine gets in his way. A little bit of a brake check on me there from KK, and we've got some front wing damage as a result of that, so that is going to drastically hamper our pace going forward, and we're going to have to really push quite hard to try and compensate in the drop of performance we're going to get with the front wing damage. So yeah, really unfortunate there, but I guess KK maybe just expected that Jermaine was going to be a bit slower. However, he gets instant karma there for brake checking me as he goes off the track, and we make our way up into P12. So now we've got a bit of an air gap behind us. We've got the DRS to Jermaine. Hopefully we can stay in that DRS range. But as you can see, as we move on to lap 7, the drop in performance there was just too much for me to be able to handle. Jermaine's managed to gap us by 3 seconds. So when we eventually do box, I'm definitely going to change this front wing, because if we've dropped 3 seconds to Jermaine over the course of just 4 laps, then, well, we're going to be dropping quite a lot on him over the course of 15 laps at the end of the race on that second stint. Now we're coming under pressure from the cars behind. KK's managed to catch back up. Thanos is directly behind us as well, and he's looking to go for a move up the inside here, and with the DRS it is very trivial there for the Red Bull driver, making his way up into P11, and we're going to have to fall back down to P12 for the time being, but hopefully we'll be able to stay with him. It won't be easy because, like I said, we'll have a massive drop in cornering performance as a result of losing that small bit of front wing. But it wasn't drastic enough that I felt like I needed to come into the pit lane. You can see I'm actually managing to stay with Thanos quite nicely here, which I was really pleased with, given that, you know, I'm on 9-lap-old soft tyres with front wing damage, and he's on mediums with assumedly no front wing damage. I don't know for certain whether he was running with damage or not. But yeah, we actually managed to get the overspeed on him into turn 1, and we actually go for the switchback on him there. He goes a bit deep into the corner. We brake nice and early. We go for the switchback. We're going to be wheel to wheel through the first few corners. He tries to send it around my outside there. I'm going to try and send it around the outside of him at the hairpin. Am I going to get the better exit from the corner? Yes, I am. What an overtake that was. Probably the best overtake I've made in Streamers and Co. Definitely this season. I'm trying to think if there's anything that rivals that one, but I am especially pleased with that overtake. So yeah, sorry Thanos, you just caught me on a really good day, I guess. And hopefully we'll continue making our way forward from here. The gap to Jermaine in front now 5 seconds. So we are going to be coming into the pit lane at the end of this lap, repairing the wing damage. It's not a conversation. And yeah, hopefully I will be able to, in the undercut laps, make up the deficit that I'm going to lose by changing this front wing, because it will be about 5 seconds this is going to cost me changing this front wing to the cars that were behind me. So I'm going to need to make up 5 seconds on them before they pit in order to make this a viable strategy. Mike coming into the pit lane there. Fortunately, ghosting's turned on, so it doesn't hold me up any, because that would have definitely held me up if not for that. He's also got a 5-second penalty, assumedly because he sped in the pit lane or something like that. So hopefully now that we've come into the pits, hopefully we can continue making a bit of progress, make up a bit of time on Jermaine as well, now that we're not suffering with that front wing damage, because I would have felt like mine and his pace would have been very similar over the course of a lap if it hadn't been for that. And at the end of lap 11, he's coming into the pit lane. We're going to see what the gap is to the Mercedes driver. It was about 5 seconds after before I came into the pits, and after the pit stop it's about 10 seconds. So realistically I haven't actually made up that much time on Jermaine in that one lap. But yeah, actually I think it was about 6 seconds, so maybe I have made up about a second or so on him. ArCee now coming into the pits at the end of lap 12, and we'll see what the gap to him is like in the Haas. He's actually been showing some pretty strong form in some of the races I've been doing with him recently. He's yet to really let it convert into a performance in this league, but in the midweek race that I did in another racing league, ArCee was part of that as well, and he actually ended up finishing P4 in that. And not only that, but also in open lobbies and things like that, he's been showing a lot stronger performance recently. So, you know, I wouldn't count him out from scoring a point here in the Streamers and Co VRL in the not too distant future. Maybe even in today's race if he can show some better pace than Jermaine. But on those hard compound tyres, I've managed to catch him up by about 5 or 6 tenths over the course of that lap as he's sort of heating up the tyres, and obviously he's on the slightly slower compound as well. So we're going to see what my pace is like compared to the Haas driver here, and see if we can try and nicely clear him, get ahead of him, and set off after Jermaine, who over the course of the last 2 laps I've not really caught up by the amount that I would have wanted to. Only about 6 tenths since he came into the pit lane. It needs to be about a second a lap from here on out if I want any hope of making this overtake happen. But unfortunately now ArCee's starting to pull away from me a little bit, particularly in the straights, as yeah, he is showcasing some fairly good pace. There's also some rain looming potentially as well. We are being warned about that periodically as the race goes on. I don't know if I've played one of those for you yet, but yeah, there was an indication there was going to be some rain coming. There, here we go. 10 minutes till the rain is coming, and a lap around here is a little over a minute. So you would imagine that the rain is going to arrive with about 2 or 3 laps to go. And that's going to make it quite awkward, because if the track does get wet, it's going to be really difficult to drive that when there will be no incentive to pit onto intermediate or wet tyres with so little time left in the race. It's a bit unfortunate for me, really. You know, I've kind of established myself in this league especially as a bit of a rainmeister, in the sense that I just seem to deliver my best performances when the weather is quite wet. As we witnessed in China, you know, I was absolutely cooking in the wet. I was battling for sort of P5, P6, and then I went backwards and barely finished in the points as the race unfolded, and only really managed to get there because of penalties that were applied. So yeah, as we make our way around the final corner on lap number 17, you can see we are closing down ArCee. Are we going to be close enough to make the overtake on this occasion? No, of course we bloody aren't, and we're going to have to keep going for one more lap to see if we can close him down, because as I've said, there is really only one spot to overtake here. Even though I'm running 50-46 wings around here, I couldn't be running much higher wings if I tried to. So my cornering performance is going to be drastically better than the majority of people if they're running slightly lower downforce setups. Still, through the corners, yes, I'm catching him a little bit, but not quite enough. It needs to be in the straights, so we'll see if we can do it here. We're a lot closer this time. 3 tenths is the gap. That's pushing down now to 2 tenths, 1 tenth. I'm going to try and send it around the outside of him. We brake a little bit late. We get quite brave on the brakes there, and fortunately we find the performance to go around the outside of the Haas driver and make our way up into P11. Only 1 position away from the points now, but you can see that the gap to Jermaine is still 7.5 seconds in front. I don't think that we're going to be able to close that down before the end of the race, so we're going to have to hope that there is some shenanigans here, preferentially with Jermaine, to enable me to close him down now and catch up. But a late safety car could do it as well. However, you can see ArCee stayed with me the whole way through that lap, and with that superior straight line speed that he was showing compared to me, he was able to make the overtake straight back on me as we made our way into lap number 20. But this has been an absolutely incredible fight, putting so much pressure on him in the Haas right now. You know, this, to be honest with you, I think is probably the best drive that I've seen from him the entire time I've been racing with him in the league. You know, he is a pocket-sized man, but today he is putting me well and truly in his pocket, because this is an absolutely generational performance from ArCee here to be able to keep me behind for the last however many laps. It's been 8 laps at this point. He's delivering definitely what I would consider to be one of the better performances that he's delivered in this league. And if there is any chaos up front whatsoever, if one driver retires or has to pit due to damage or anything like that, ArCee will be finding himself in receipt of his first point this season. You know, he's not quite had the luck, he's not quite had the performance to carry him into the points in the first 8 races of this season, but surely his barren run has to come to an end at some point before the end of the season, and this might well be an opportunity for him. You may have seen there briefly, I will show you again if you missed it, but we are slightly under how much fuel we'll need to get to the end of the race, which means I may have to start lifting and coasting into some of these corners to make it a realistic possibility to get to the end, which means that our chances of catching RC might be slightly out of the window now. I'm going to try and stay with him if I possibly can, but yeah, you can see minus 0.09 now on the fuel mix, so we're going to need to do a bit of lift and coast into the corners if we want to make up the fuel. But I also simultaneously I want to do lift and coast into the corners whilst also making sure that I don't fall out of RC's DRS range. They're saying that the rain is inbound now, should be arriving any second, and those of you with better eyesight than myself will be able to see that it is just about starting to fall now. I think I seem to remember that I saw a few drops around this time. So yeah, on these last 3 laps it is going to start getting wet. Yeah, you can see the reticule on my TV camera there is starting to display a few drops of rain, and it is only going to get wetter over the next few laps here in Zandvoort. Obviously no reason whatsoever to pit onto the intermediate tyres this late in the race. You will not recoup the performance if you go for that kind of gamble. So yeah, we're just going to have to try and make it to the end on the slick tyres if we possibly can. It will not be easy by any stretch of the imagination, but this is the condition in which I come alive more than anything else. You know, if we're on a difficult set of tyres, or we are running in the wet in any capacity really, that's when I'm going to start showcasing a bit more performance compared to the cars in front. So yeah, as the track continues to get slippier and slippier, I am just preying on the downfall of someone, and unfortunately God strikes down the wrong Mercedes as Liam made a bit of a mistake there, which briefly brought out a yellow flag, and eventually he does get going again, down in 15th now. Uncharacteristically difficult performance for Liam. Big lift from myself into turn 1 there to try and recoup as much fuel as I can, but you can see we're still slightly under the amount of fuel we'll need, so we'll have to continue lifting through some of these corners. And yeah, I think RC, unfortunately for me, will be nailing this P11. Absolutely nothing I could do here. Just unfortunately, once I had that front wing damage, that's kind of taken me out of the equation a little bit. If I hadn't have lost 5 seconds, and however much more performance I lost over the course of the stint on when I had the front wing damage, maybe I would have been with Jermaine. You can see the gap is 5.8 seconds to him now. You'd have to imagine I would be right with him, and we'd probably be battling tooth and nail over this final point if not for that. Lewis wraps up a victory here in a race where Alex actually DNF'd on lap 1. So yeah, Lewis pulling away in the championship a little bit now. Anto not racing this weekend, so it's going to be a difficult weekend for Alpine, most likely not picking up any points. But there is a yellow flag behind. I don't know what that is for, if someone went off track again or something. But as we round the final corner here, or the final couple of corners I should say, you can see that ArCee suddenly started going very slowly, and he must have run out of fuel again. We are just going to be able to make it on fuel as we cross the line to take P11. We just managed to survive with the fuel. We were actually in low fuel mode. You'll have heard the engine revving as we crossed the line there, but we managed to hold on to it just enough compared to RC that we were able to make it to the end with the fuel that we had without any issues. Unfortunately, he just ran out at the end there, must have underfueled slightly. That's the problem, especially at a track like this. We all project that there's going to be some sort of safety car or something, and today there just wasn't. So yeah, unfortunately for anyone who was banking on that, they will have been leaving sorely disappointed. Here's Lewis celebrating another victory this season in that Haas. It's Dustin in P2, another strong performance from him, and Ryan picks up another podium in the Streamers and Co VRL as he comes home to finish 3rd in that McLaren as well. So yeah, good performance from all of these guys. There were a few penalties applied, but ultimately none of them actually affected the race result this time, because they were only applied to, I believe it was Stayed Body and KK, who finished further ahead of their nearest driver than the penalty applied would have affected. So yeah, it was Lewis in P1 there, followed by Dustin and Ryan on the podium. Bjarni, another strong finish from him to finish P4. Stayed Body gets a top 5 finish there. Reg, Ryan, Phil, Ollie and Jermaine round out the top 10. We were just on the fringes of the points, and I would have dearly loved for something to have happened to enable us to have scored a point there, but it just didn't happen on this occasion. It's RC finishing 12th due to that fuel error at the end. KK, despite all of his shenanigans in the race, does end up coming home in 13th, which is a decent performance in a race like this. And then it's Nivi, Thanos, Liam, who had a tough race as well, and Mike rounding out the finishers there, and Alex failing to finish in that Ferrari, DNFing on lap 1 due to various issues that he was suffering with. But yeah, overall, pretty happy with how that race went. Very exciting, and that is going to be it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.